This guy is different. Joe Biden, he has spent 570 days on vacation the last 4 years. Get out your calculator, America. That is 40% of his presidency. That means 4 out of every 10 days, for those of you who aren't good at math, Joe Biden has spent on a beach or otherwise at some form of not.
Merry Christmas. We can actually tell that to you folks, as you can tell by my beautiful set. Is
nice set.
We can what? Yes,
it's
a
nice
set of green screen. And don't you know what, folks? It doesn't cost you a dime. So there you go.
You didn't need to raise $35,000.
I didn't have to raise. I don't have to beg my listeners to pay money so I can pretend to have like a job where I talk into a microphone. I just have a magical green screen with everything here fake, kind of like, you know, my personality. But welcome to News from the View.
Let me upgrade my background.
Oh, hey, no, you got to keep the sports ball there, man. That's what everybody wants to see. Everybody wants to see the sports ball.
It's an eyesore, which is probably everything else in my room.
Yeah, whatever.
It's a fake.
It's what is it? Flair. It's what they say. It's flair, like they have at Shenanigans or TGIF Fridays. Folks, I hope you had a wonderful Christmas and you're having a great time during the 12 days of Christmas. As Catholics, we are still celebrating. You're with your family, you're having good have some good food. You enjoyed all the mass and festivities that happen, and we're really happy that you guys are joining us today. And yes,
what Rick is trying to say is happy Kwanzaa to all the
happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Kamakas, whatever else
Festivus.
There is. Yeah. Festivus, yep, the Festivus, which
did we miss one?
There's a new one being made up. I'm sure there's another one we did miss for appropriation of something. Whatever the Hindus.
Is the official religion of Texas?
Not yet.
Is it? Did it start in Texas?
Maybe.
Or
it was started by a convict. I know that much.
Yeah.
I know Whitlock's been on a tear for the last 2 days. Every time somebody wishes Kwanzaa, he's like, it's a fake holiday. So like 45 posts of his were just that same talk. You just cut and pasted. So I know from all that it was made up by a convict. But we have
watching the Proddies get upset about Kwanzaa when they say Merry Christmas, and he goes, "Hey, what part of that mass part did you all have?"
Yeah, right.
Christmas. Had to do
Merry. It's really Mary. It's Merry Christ Mass, but
Christmas is over here. I mean, we're in. I used to live in Christmasville, USA, in McAdenville, North Carolina. It's a little small podunk town, probably. Yeah, one stoplight. Yeah, we have one in Cowpens. They have one here. Recently, I did, and it's they have what they do is for the whole month of December, they paid the people to put the lights out. The problem is usually it's about the second day after Christmas that they tell them that we ain't doing it anymore. So this year, the lights went off yesterday. So Christmas started and it went dark.
Yeah. And of course it is, because in America, in the West, we count down to Christmas instead of starting Christmas and then the festivities go through the month of January. So yeah, most people are mad, sad, and depressed because they're like, well, Christmas is over. It's like, who was it? The redheaded libertarian's like, the greatest way to end Christmas. And she was watching A Wonderful Life, which is a great film. I'm like, joke's on you, sweetheart. You got 11 more days at least. Christmas isn't ending.
Halloween. So they've been celebrating since Halloween, playing Christmas music and doing all the parties. And also by the time Christmas gets here, they're like, oh, thank you.
Yeah, right.
We made it to
they're actually
the
relieved. They're
actually the rest of us like, hey, we're ready to party.
Yep. I get the pecan pie and everything. So I'm ready to get at it. My stomach is definitely enjoying it. But everything else,
you're gonna not liking the first cookie after Advent. You should be like, oh, I shouldn't. It's like Ron Burgundy. Milk was a bad decision.
No. Nope. Pie's never a bad decision, especially pecan pie. But we have it's a slow week. I know everybody says it and it's a cop out. I get it. But it's a little bit of a slow news week, and that's all right. We're going to be talking about pretty much the big thing that took place, which is Elon Musk setting fire to the entire Twitter sphere. And we're not going to get many people on X watching today because and we'll talk about this, my account has been pretty much shadow banned into oblivion. And Musk actually talked about this last night, how you can, if your account is blocked or muted by people, the reach is just gone. So I've been blocked and muted by way too many people. So
I'll say something from one of the Christmas movies of greatest Christmas movies of all time, Die Hard. Welcome to the party, pal. I've been like that for a decade.
Yeah, that's but it's pretty much just it is what it is. Fog and rain. Snow is melting though. Well,
and we just got the fog and rain here, but no snow.
Yeah, that's just one level above the snow. So that way you just get whatever that is. But so it was a quiet week. There were some other things that were happening. And then Elon, it was weird because somebody started talking on Christmas because they were bored or they had too much pie or whatever the case may be, as often the case is. Instead of watching them up at Christmas Carol, they went to Twitter and they started saying we should put a cap on H1B. You know, Trump talked about this in 2016. This has always been a big deal, the chain migration through H1Bs. And then Elon was like, "No, we need engineers like today. We need the best and the brightest because America needs to win. And if we don't have these engineers, we're gonna win. We're not gonna win." And people are like, "What are you talking about winning? What are you talking about? This idea about winning?" And, there's two separate types of visas. There's the O1 visa, which is for legitimately the best and the brightest and the most extraordinary in whatever athletics, music, dance, whatever the case may be, science. And then there's H1Bs, which is just work visas. Essentially, distilled down, they're work visas. And what they've done with this H1B visa, and this has gone back to Trump in 2016, even before that, is it's been used to bring in not the quote unquote best and the brightest, because if you look at even Elon's companies, Tesla, SpaceX, all of them, he's bringing in H1B visas for like accountants, H1B visas for, janitors or whatever stuff that Americans can do. And that kind of started this whole discussion about what are you doing? Why are you pushing for these jobs that apparently Americans can't do? We can't be accountants. First, it was you can't get rid of illegal immigrants because who's going to pick the crops? Now you can't get rid of H-1B visas because it's like who's going to do the coding? Who's going to be the CEOs? Who's going to be the dishwashers and the truck drivers and all these other things? And people kind of really had it, and they said and I used the example last night. If you watch the only edition of Lord of the Rings, which is the extended edition, in the Fellowship of the Ring, Aragorn is going back and forth with Boromir, and Boromir is just like, I just want you to take a chance and trust men. You trust the elves, you trust everybody else. I just want you to trust men. And that's really what Americans are getting sick and tired of. We're sick and tired of being told, well, you need to bring XYZ in because they can do it. You need to bring XYZ in because if they don't, nobody will do this job. And this has become a huge firestorm. And Trump and Vance have been silent on this, which I don't, Trump's just like, I don't care. I don't care about X. You guys do whatever you want us to do. And it really highlights the fact that Elon and all of these other people, of course, Steve and I have been on record on this program talking about Elon, the transhumanist, the technology guy, all these other kinds of things, not to be trusted, be wary of him. And he kind of revealed it. I guess he had one too many Shirley Temples and just started tweeting away about how Americans are essentially stupid. And the only way we can make America win, because it's not a union of 50 diverse states with their own population, cultures, and things. It's a sports team. It's an economic zone. And this is what Steve, and here's where I'm going to set Steve up to bring him in. And here's what nationalism does. When you treat everything as one blob and you treat everything as one state, then people can use the sports team analogy. Well, we have to bring in so America can win, or we have to bring this in, or else we're not going to be able to compete with China. Texas doesn't have to compete with China. If Texas went independent, we would be one of the largest economies in the world. we would be fine. But we're forced to be in a union with California and Delaware and Rhode Island and all these other places. And so that's why we have to worry about immigration via legal immigration through things like H-1B visas and all this other stuff, Steve. So it was just very interesting how the people who voted for Trump because they said, well, we just want Americans to get back to work, are now being told by everybody. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene came out. I just saw a post on X. She's like, but yeah, if you haven't run a business, you don't understand how important HB1 visas are to helping staff people. I'm like, what? You too now? And it is what it is. Capitalism enables this stuff, folks.
How'd you like that chapter title I sent you? Texas, the Puppet State.
Yeah, I know. That was not great. I was not very pleased. I was not pleased with that, brother.
For everybody, it came from that Reconstruction book, and it went from Texas, the independent state, to puppet states. And one of the things in there, I don't know if it was the screenshot, it said that one of the things they worried about Texas was because they've never lost before. And they made it their goal, the union made it their goal to stick it to Texas to make them lose and to grovel, have them on their knees begging to DC for them, because they said that they've never done that in their the history of Texas as a people, I guess, a culture.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the NBA comes to mind, and that just started getting in the news. I haven't watched it. I used to watch NBA.
I was all about it. I was all about the NBA.
Yeah, the double, not too much of the double alts, maybe at the beginning, but 90s definitely. But you see that you mentioned that not working. These guys are getting paid $30 million and playing half a year, not even playing when they're playing. They're just walking around, barely breaking a sweat.
Well,
so it's not. It's
real
like
quick. The game is trash now because you stand at the 3-point line. Yeah,
it's a culture. It's like a cultural thing of no effort. No one cares about doing anything. You see, going to college, most people what do you want to do? I want to be a podcaster. I want to be an influencer, whatever, just go buy, I'm going to go in there and show that I'm going to go in a store and do this and talk bad about this product. You see it on TV shows when was it Suits, when he goes after this 15-year-old and she looks at him and goes, I can tell 30 million people to stop buying this and I'll make this much money about it. He goes, the world is wrong here. And that's the mindset of everyone. They don't want to do things. And you can trace it back again. I see a lot of this from the 1860s when you brought up, like, who's going to work with the H1B guys? The exact same things they were saying about the slaves at the time, which only 6% of the South owned any. And most of the owners were training slaves how to do a trade and things like this. So they were already getting that way. They were already making contracts afterwards. Hey, you do this month, we'll pay you X amount. They were already paid beforehand in many reports. But then they came down, the government came down and said, nope, this is not going to happen this way. And so people didn't know how are we going to do any of this? Sharecropping, the new slavery came through in the same sense of this. And here's a couple videos on the H-1B if no one's really up on what's going on.
Are losing jobs because of a law designed to help the job market. The H-1B visa bill was written in 1990. It lets companies recruit foreign talent for emerging engineering and scientific jobs. But loopholes allow for outsourcing of American jobs to foreign workers, often at lower pay. Bill Whitaker spoke to some Americans displaced by H-1B visa workers for Sunday's 60 Minutes. They say they were asked to train workers who would take their jobs.
They took our jobs.
It wasn't called training your replacement. It was called knowledge transfer.
Craig D'Angelo worked for Northeast Utilities, now called Eversource, and was one of 220 IT workers replaced by H-1B visa employees. D'Angelo says his replacement, a worker from India, told him he was making half D'Angelo's salary with no benefits.
I didn't get laid off for lack of work. I got laid off because somebody cheaper could do my job.
We met with this group of workers who all had to train replacements. Leo Pereiro had just received high performance reviews from Disney. When he was called into a personnel meeting, he expected a raise and a promotion.
And instead,
I was given the news that in 90 days, my job was over and I had to train my replacement. Never in my life did I imagine, until this happened at Disney, that I could be sitting at my desk and somebody would be flown in from another country,
Right.
sit at my same desk and chair and take over what I was doing. It was the most humiliating and demoralizing thing I've ever gone through.
To Mr. Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, they should focus on saving federal dollars for the taxpayers and not immigration policy. I understand some of the points that Catherine made, and I agree to an extent, but I think the U.S. should focus more on domestic skill development. Studies also show that H-1B exacerbates employers hiring individuals from outside of the country when they could potentially hire minorities, for an example, which we know there's a shortage in the STEM fields. There are a significant number of Americans who I think would love opportunities if they had the proper training and skills to operate in those jobs fairly well. So why not start and focus there? I'm not of the support or mindset, Caitlin, that we should let in more than the 60,000+ that were already let into the country. Do we have some deficits? I certainly understand that point, again, to what Catherine was sort of alluding to. But I think by focusing on increasing domestic skill development, you can decrease the furtherance of those deficits by virtue of saying, you know what, we're going to spend more of our time, more of our dollars educating our own citizens to compete for these jobs versus saying, let's increase to 100,000 or maybe even more for employers to bring in individuals from India, which is the predominant country where many of them come from. I don't agree with that at all. And I think folks in the MAGA world have every right to be angry with Vivek and Elon Musk.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting point because I saw that.
What? Now, a couple of things. Elon and Vivek are both obviously immigrants. It kind of, for some reason, Alexander Hamilton's popping in my head. Everyone wonders, why was he such a big monarchist guy in the sense of centralized government? He was a big he was never from here. He didn't have he didn't have his home state. You look at everybody else, Mason, Henry, they're Virginians. Washington, Jefferson, we are from Virginia. Robert E. Lee, Virginia, that was your country, that was your home. You're gonna love that.
Adams, he was from Massachusetts, both of them. Sam and John, they were from Massachusetts.
Yeah,
that was their country.
You get Hamilton come in again. Well, he puts his name next to New York, but he's not from. Didn't grow up with this. I'm Georgia. I'm South Carolina. I'm like J.C. Calhoun, South Carolinian. Iredale from North Carolina. I'm a North Carolinian. You know, the pride of your nation state. He wasn't that. So he was all for this big conglomerate uniblob idea, not to the point of what these guys want. So in the same way with Elon and Vivek, they'll look at, well, we did it. Why the heck? Why don't you guys do it? Why don't you take care of what we did? We're all, we wipe our, what's with $100 bills. So it's no big deal. We don't see. It's not a problem. We grew up doing this stuff. It's in our minds. It's in our culture, in a sense. And again, and then you look at globalism. Why is that? If you leave out the globalism idea, think locally, act globally. Forget about Disney. Like the one guy, he got kicked out of Disney for it. Okay, start up your own thing. Obviously, you can't compete with the mouse. The House of Mouse would take you down, but you could do something else. You don't have to be in something. I need that CEO position or VP position of a company that is worldwide. Why do you have to be worldwide? Why can't you just be good? Why don't you just be happy enough to have some little mom and pop thing in Podunk, wherever? But you want the big homes. You want the cars. You want to see you want the latest Tesla. You want all these big new gadgets, the latest iPhone, because we want to get all that other stuff. We have to have these bigger jobs. Even though, he was at the end crying. I'm not saying that he did it, but did they step on other people to get where they were? Or did that company step on other people to get where that company is? I mean, I remember when I was in medical, there was a group that went out of business. I can't remember the name of the company. And my boss basically texted me up, hey, it wasn't Don Joy, but it was something. These guys went down. Let's find their accounts and get rid, squash them down. Well, first, can we say like a little prayer that these guys just lost all the guys that worked for them, lost their jobs and income and maybe have mouths to feed. And, before we take away everything from them, look, it's that dog eat dog idea, backstab, whatever we can get in to take over. It's evolution in a sense and work. It's the survival of the fittest. We will take over. And when it happens to you, it sucks. But I guarantee those guys did it to others. Not saying karma's, you know what? I mean, because, you know, I see thing with the same, with healthcare still, there's more people coming out saying, I just got denied. And I just got denied. People look back. Maybe, you know, what this is wrong. What happened? You know, they're killing other guys moral. Maybe you'll see CEOs down the road, unfortunately, happen like this because of stuff like this. We see it in TV shows, so they're usually ahead of the program anyways. And again, not saying that is good, the retaliation like that, but no one thinks about it. You know, what can I do? Let's downgrade where we live. No, we always have to live outside our means every time, because we need that big job. We need that fancy car. We need all that just to be, I don't know, to be globalist, which is why the politics is so bad. The society's running politics, and everyone in society wants to be a global one. Like you said, we're number one. USA, Chad. America first. What does that mean? Do I get it? You get a trophy or something? We get first in what? You know, and take over the world. We can get into takeovers a little bit afterwards, but I mean, just it's that mindset. We got to be X is another. You can't talk to your neighbor, but you can talk to your friends on Meta, Facebook, whatever, Instagram, Snapchat, X, Twitter, whatever. I use X. I use Twitter. I use it for the news to find out what's going on. I love looking at my local news, see what's going on, where I can control things and what actually happens to me. Something happens on X, so everyone gets outraged. Well, you know how it's going to affect you 0.000, probably 0%. It's not going to do anything to you. But we love that mindset. Again, goes into the politics. We have to elect our elected monarch instead of worrying about local. Like New York just comes out with this gigantic climate change thing. Hey, we care about what DJT is going to do. Their focus is always off.
Yep, always at the federal, and that's by design, so that way they can get away with stuff at the local level, and you won't care because all you care about is the next elected king, or you know, your House seats or senators or whatever the case may be. Meanwhile, and they talk about Texas, and Texas does have its issues with its own legislature, and the fact that the legislature, there's a lot of things that are wrong with it, and we need to be cautious of how things are being done down here, especially now that Elon wants to set up shop down here in Texas, especially after all of this. He wants to bring in all these H-1Bs into the state of Texas. He's not bringing them into California anymore. They will all be coming here. And so this is a bigger deal for us here in Texas than it would be for anybody else in that regard, because it does affect our bottom line. It does affect how things go locally. But the fact of the matter is, you know, outsourcing, and that's kind of one of the things people kind of rallied around Trump. He gave this idea that, hey, we're going to bring manufacturing back here from overseas. We're going to bring this, or we're going to have tariffs to do protectionism, because the idea is, you know, we Americans, regardless of race, feel they're left behind. And that's what you are going to be left behind when you engage in the globalism game. You know, when you try to put yourself on par with everybody else, guess what? Nobody's going to be on par with you. Nobody is, because everybody's fighting to the last man to try and get that contract, which means they're going to undercut you. They're going to do all kinds of things to you.
Yeah, and that's why they did that in Germany, Italy, France, and obviously the United States. I mean,
London, Canada. See what's happening in London and Canada.
Yep, you have to grow bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Even though places like Singapore, etc., are small and have shown that you can be small and still be prosperous. No, we have to destroy everything and become bigger and bigger. And it's as Mickey talked about, Elon wants UBI. Yeah, he also wants the Elon version of CBDC and a carbon tax. Here's more on. Well, first beforehand, I was joking off camera, telling Rick that I was giving my daily jab to Jack, because he's like, "Oh, we are one nation under God." If you're not knowing what that about this, one nation sounds good. You pledge allegiance to that. It's a socialist pledge, by the way, by Francis Bellamy, a devout Baptist socialist, got kicked out of the Baptist church for being a socialist. By the way, I wrote him on this. German commies loved the one nation idea. It was literally an Engels dream. What he tried to do with what he did with Germany. I was exactly one nation. You preach one nation, applaud one nation. You're applauding a communistic mindset. Sorry to hate it. You don't
Absolutely.
like it? Tough. It's history. More Elon stuff. Palantir, Anduril in talks with OpenAI, Elon Musk, SpaceX to take on defense giants. Here's a great article by Derek Brose, who I love his research. He's a moron when it comes to religion. Poor guy. I'll tell you, he posted, he was outside of St. Michael's somewhere in Mexico, and there was a friar statue outside. And he takes the photo and posts it. Goes, I have to look up what this St. Michael statue is and see what, how, because it's this friar praying over a native, and he's all, hey, the Catholic Church is always about going after natives. I go, dude, you don't even smart enough to figure out that's not St. Michael. I'll tell you who that is right now for you. Here's what that guy did. He was very good to people like that. So drop your bias. Anyway, great researcher, except his brain goes to mush on religion. This, in a nutshell, this is talking about SpaceLink and pretty much how everything is going to be used against you, as in, well, I'll let Rand Paul talk to you about that in a second. But imagine being surveilled 24/7 everywhere. And that's what Elon's bringing in. Here's Silicon Valley unites to disrupt the U.S. defense contracts. Palantir, that's Palantir, J.D. Vance, Peter Thiel, and Anduril are leading talks with SpaceX, OpenAI, and others to form a tech consortium aiming to modernize U.S. defense procurement. Think less tape, more rocket speed. The goal: replace slow, costly systems like giants like Lockheed Martin, who had the Lockheed Martin Bowl today, by the way, woohoo, with cut-edge AI, autonomous tech, and efficient innovations. You remember this guy from last week that we played?
In DC in May, where we talked to them about this, and the meetings were absolutely horrifying, and we came out basically deciding we had to endorse Trump.
What did you hear in those meetings?
AI is a technology basically that the government is going to completely control. This is not going to be a startup thing. They actually said flat out to us, don't do AI startups. Like don't fund AI startups. It's not something that we're going to allow to happen. They're not going to be allowed to exist. There's no point. They basically said AI is going to be a game of 2 or 3 big companies working closely with the government, and we're going to basically wrap them in a,
Peter Thiel and Elon is about as close to the government as you can do.
I'm paraphrasing. We're going to basically wrap them in a government cocoon. We're going to protect them from competition. We're going to control them, and we're going to dictate what they do. And then I said, I don't understand how you're going to lock this down so much, because like the math for AI is like out there and it's being taught everywhere. And they literally said, during the Cold War we classified entire areas of physics and took them out of the research community, and like entire branches of physics basically went dark and didn't proceed. And that if we decide we need to, we're going to do the same thing to the math underneath AI.
Wow.
And I said, I've just learned 2 very important things, because I wasn't aware of the former, and I wasn't aware that you were, even conceiving of doing it to the latter.
And here's remember the drones that were flying overhead? Everyone's been taking photos. I guess they're still going. We talked about.
Well, nobody cares about that anymore, man. Come on, that's so last week.
We moved on. Well, there was a bill we mentioned on the show last week. There was a bill that was going through that nobody was talking about. Here's Rand Paul on it.
The bill before us would grant law enforcement significant authority to intercept private electronic communications without consent. For example, the bill would allow the government to conduct dragnet surveillance of the phones innocent Americans traveling through U.S. airports, as long as the government claims they are doing it to neutralize a drone. So in order to look at the information that might be coming to a drone, it may be that you capture all the information of everybody surrounding an airport or everybody who lives near an airport. Once you have all that data, what are the assurances that the government isn't looking at your data in addition to the data that may be related to flying the drone? This is not just about security. It's about unchecked government overreach. It's about capitalizing on fear and media-driven hysteria to jam through sweeping legislation that could violate the civil liberties of American people. Congress has a constitutional responsibility to serve as a check on the executive power, not as a rubber stamp for it. The federal government already has the power to deal with drones. The federal government already has the power to stop any drones that are in airspace around airports. The federal government already has the power to protect its air bases. So if there is a significant problem here, the Biden administration needs to come forward and let us know, who are these drones? Who's operating these drones? What is the federal government doing to protect either airports or bases from this? Instead, we are told by the Biden administration there is no threat to our national security. So let's first insist on truth and transparency from the Biden administration before offering up legislation that is feel good, pat somebody on the back and say, oh, we've done something about drones. We are strong on drones. Congress has a constitutional responsibility to serve as a check on executive power, not as a rubber stamp. We owe it to the American people to demand compelling justification, meaningful safeguards, and full transparency before granting any new surveillance authorities. We are a nation of laws, not fear, not panic, and not manufactured.
And we get the point. Here's Elon XAI raises $6 billion. We need that old Dr. Evil thing. $1 billion.
Billion.
Billion
dollars.
Funding from BlackRock, Nvidia, AMD, and others. Woo! Yay! What could go wrong? Syrian girl about the tech bros and the H-1B visas. There's an Indian takeover of right-wing politics because Zionists want them there. The biggest income earners in the U.S. by ethnicity are Jews, then Indians, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. It's a reward for their full support star and a genocide of Gaza, because you can't trust Christians because they might remember Palestinian Christians.
Who?
Yeah, who are those guys? We got the Pope on that one here in a minute. But dude, yeah, it's don't trust technocrats. And there's a reason why Elon's getting. Someone else put a tweet out. Is Doge just something to help your pet projects? Yep.
Yep.
They've already come out saying you're probably not going to be able to get rid of all the illegals, especially right off the bat. They're not going to do anything. What's that line? Y'all been had.
Yep. And who told you over the course of the election that Trump was going to be allowed to go back in to quell the upset minds of your average Americans? It was us. We said they're going to let Trump back in as a release valve for all the anger that Americans have, people in this union have had over the last 4 years. Oh, Trump's back in office. Okay, everything's going to be fine. Now they're not as angry at the government as they were. Yeah, sure, liberals are, but liberals, they'll besides taking out CEOs, they'll kind of just go back to protesting online and marching in the streets. And so now they can kind of they have their release valve done. People are good. They're happy that Trump's in office. Nothing probably will change, but your attitude will for the next 4 years, because you're gonna get some pretty awesome memes.
Yeah, we have the great memes. You'll get some tweets. You get some stuff like that. You'll get what you want to get into hey, we're gonna have the takeover, baby.
Oh yeah, that's right. Well, we're gonna get that. And we're gonna get some new areas to possibly go visit under the American empire.
Thought that the prime minister's statement that it was absurd, it was an absurd idea, was nasty. I thought it was an inappropriate statement. All she had to do is say, no, we wouldn't be interested, but we can't treat the United States of America the way they treated us under President Obama. I thought it was a very not nice way of saying something. They could have told me, no, this is something that's been discussed for many years. Harry Truman had the idea of Greenland. I had the idea. Other people have had the idea. It goes back into the early 1900s. But Harry Truman very strongly thought it was a good idea. I think it's a good idea because Denmark is losing $700 million a year with it. It doesn't do them any good.
Yeah. Talking about Panama too, and where else would you talk about?
There's Mexico. He's also, we talked about there's a soft invasion of Mexico that he's wanted to do. The Panama Canal one is the only one that you could actually make a debate from and I know Steve's not going to like this word, but from a national security standpoint, Americans built, sweat, bled, and died to have it built. Stupidly, thanks to Carter, gave it back to the Panamanians, the people of Panama, for $1. And now the Chinese are essentially taking it all over. And so that's going to hurt. And once again, circle back to the fact that when you live in a globalist society, these are problems that you will have. The fact that Panama Canal being taken over by the Chinese, they won't take it over, but they'll essentially tell the people of Panama, the Panama government, what to do, and that'll impact everything that that it goes through that actual canal. 70% of American imports go through the Panama Canal. So that's the one you could actually see Trump making a major move on from a strategic standpoint. Greenland's great for its rare earth minerals and the fact that it's close to the Arctic. So those two things would be, if you're from a globalist standpoint, those would be the two more important things that you would want that one for. And then Mexico, everybody's floating the idea of just invading Mexico for the hell of it because we're bored. So that would be that idea behind there. And of course, Trump continues to joke about Canada being the 51st state.
Yeah. Well, it's nothing new. I sent you this from yesterday. I was reading going, I almost dropped it going, holy cow. This is from the book, was it the Yankee Empire, Aggressive Abroad and Despotic at Home. Great title. You can think right off the bat. That's for darn sure. You can't make a better title than that. 1863 edition of New York Herald looked forward to the day when, quote, when the Union would rule not only the South, but a large share of the world. Also said that American purposes were intrinsically imperial. So, I mean, when I saw Trump do it, I'm going, imperialism. It's okay when we do it. Every doggone person.
Yep.
If you say no, you're lying to yourself. If Brandon would have come out and said that 4 years ago, people would have lost it. You would have seen Jack just losing her on TV, Beck, Levin, Hannity, all those guys.
Beck would have been scribbling on that chalkboard.
Oh,
they would have needed like 4 of them.
Yes.
If it was that.
What are they doing today? We got our cheerleaders out. We got our pom-poms.
Well, now Beck has 4 telling you why it's a good idea.
Yes.
So he just flips the board over. You know how you can actually flip it? On one side, he writes why it's bad, and on the other side, he writes why it's good. He's like, what is it? We're going. All right, flip it. All right, go.
It's like when the team loses, they got the winning team jerseys for the losing team goes to Africa. You see that meme with the kid? Yeah, I got my T-shirt.
Oh no, it's the guy in the crowd who has both jerseys on. Yeah, and at the end of the game, whoever wins, he's like, ah! Yeah. So that's
here's a quote from 1898 Republican Senator Beveridge of Indiana. Quote, because they took over the Kingdom of Hawaii by a bayonet takeover, bayonet constitution, the Queen then called it. The Philippines exercised control of Cuba and Latin American republics. Quote, the Philippines are ours forever, and just beyond China, the Pacific Ocean is ours. It goes on to say 4 things would happen as America moves from a republic to an empire. 1, perpetual war, a rash of no-end wars. Check. Individual rights formerly protected by the Constitution will be openly violated. Happens hourly. 3, truth in government will be replaced by propaganda that glorifies leaders, wars, and international power. The military, check. And 4, eventually the country will become unstable to satisfy its financial obligations, aka bankruptcy. What was there was something else I was going to mention about that, and maybe it'll come to me lately next time. But yeah, that's imperialism in a nutshell right there. And straight up, nobody. Oh, Milton Friedman, the great economist, 1980, said that the 1928 socialist platform was all enacted by 1980. There's all check. Yep. So when you hear somebody, we're not socialists, we're against socialism. You live in a socialist empire with a facade. Well, where was the People's Republic of China?
Well, they call it a mixed economy. It's just a mixed economy. That's what they call China. China's a mixed economy. And that's how they get away with it. They're like, well, we're a mixed economy because in the health sector, we're more government. No. You're a mixed economy because you have some flares of capitalism because you get Chinese crap delivered to your door, but everything else is rooted within socialism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is not the first time any of this has happened. This 1860s takeovers and communist socialism, same thing. There's the 48ers from Germany came over here after the revolutions. went up to many other places. They were here in the 60s, 1860s. They were in the administration, in the military. They have a bunch of documentation I've seen on this. And what did they do later? They didn't like that word anymore. Hence, progressive. It's a little bit softer. You'll embrace it a little bit more.
It focus tests well.
Yeah. Yeah. You still get the Fabian socialists come over. You still get all that. It's almost like that one thing from Alien. It's over, man. What are we going to do? What are we going to do now?
Yeah.
But we keep just playing. Oh, maybe we'll just change a guy at DC. That will fix things. Good luck. That same thing that they've lived through is the same party from then. Both teams are the same like that. And it just gets worse. It's not like you got somebody coming out. Imagine a guy coming out. I dislike everything from the 1860s on. You think he'd get voted in? Hey, no,
because he'd be accused of being a slave lover.
Yeah.
And that would be it. That would sink him. That would sink them. You want to bring back slavery. And then that person would never win anything ever again. And you're seeing.
I thought about you.
I will. If you want to give me that job, I'll take it. But
I thought about you the other day because there was about 20 squad cars at the Waffle House.
Oh, man. It was prime. It was prime Waffle House time right there, man. Prime. That the waffles were really good right then. The more cops they are, the better it is.
Well, they had their lights on. They weren't there
that's what I mean. Yeah, no, that's prime eating time.
Well, yeah, it gives you some entertainment while you're eating. Yeah,
exactly. And then you get them mashed up and all the other kinds of things you want to call your hash browns. That's pretty much what they're doing to people. And then Steve's talking about the Uniparty. You're seeing the Uniparty today. They're all crowding around the H1B, right? When people think there's any kind of difference between, Trump's going to bring, no, he's not. No, he's not, guys. He's just a different flavor. They found a different, a more appealing flavor for you guys to get behind the Uniparty. And that's all this is. It does. And as Steve and I have said on this program multiple times, there's nothing new under the sun. It's just what iteration are you in now? And we'll see how it goes with that.
I mean, here's Massey talking about the spending stuff.
Is there a lot to cut? What do you think's going to be on the chopping block?
Oh, well, there is a lot to cut, but I'm going to warn you, I have Republican colleagues who'd rather run over their own mom with a car than to vote to cut spending. So the first trick is going to come up with a list of things to cut. I would cut everything that's redundant. Every state in the United States has a Department of Education. Why do we need a federal Department of Education? Cut that out. I've already got a bill to do it. So I hope Doge picks that one up. Cut out some of this foreign aid. Oh, my gosh. It's like, funding these other countries is like watering your neighbor's yard while your house is on fire.
And then he's talking about
another one. One of my favorites was that there's about $10 billion that's being spent on empty buildings. Empty buildings in DC. So I've come up with my new plan that I would submit to Massey. I'd be like, hey Massey, why don't you put in a bill that take these empty buildings in DC and turn them into dorms and force every senator and the member of the House to live there. Don't let them live in these opulent apartments where they all go. Have them live in these empty buildings that we're already paying for, turn it into a dormitory, and make them live there. That way, when they complain, Steve, we have to have a cost of living just because we have to buy a home here. And nope, there's a government-funded building you can go stay in while you're in D.C.
That's what they
stay there for 6 months or whatever. You'll see how many people don't want to be congressmen anymore.
Yeah,
because it's not an opulent lifestyle. They'll be like, I have to go live in a college dorm.
You take their paychecks away, you might have virtuous people come in.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you don't have to. You can pay them like $50,000, or actually, you wouldn't have to pay them anything because the food and everything will be provided. You're there. You just have to. You could have dry cleaning. You could have all this stuff on their campus, and be like, yeah, that's where you live and that's where you work. You don't have to go to the bars at night. Yeah, we'll put a bar in the bottom place for y'all to hang out or whatever. But of course, it'll never happen because all of DC just counts on the fact that they all live in these different parts of town and they all go to these restaurants and all these other. Well, no, you could have a special room for the
Champagne
red light district. You could have it separate. You could have a separate building. You don't want to stop all that. I'm sorry. I mean, come on. But
would you call the champagne room the PBR room at that point?
The Pabst Blue Ribbon room. But that's a simple solution. They don't need a salary, and we're already paying for the buildings. Let's just turn the buildings into dorms. Y'all can stay there, All of a sudden, these people are like, I don't want to run for Congress anymore. I think it's time for me to move on. Yeah, they're useless anyway, Steve. They don't do anything. We all leave it to the executive anyway.
J.Q. Adams died in
the House of Reps.
And after his presidency, he went back to the House of Reps because he said, I can do more for the people in the House of Reps than as the president.
That was supposed to be it's supposed to be the people's house. It's supposed to be direct representative.
After he died, the government sent him an IOU, and his kids were livid because he was broke. And they were saying all the years he gave to you, you can take that IOU and shove it somewhere. Nowadays, they're making
$174,000 minimum.
Not including.
They wanted a $70,000 raise for cost of living adjustment to $240,000.
About the elite class, you got the elite class.
That's why I'm like, let's send them a message. Y'all gonna go live in these college. You know what? 2-door room. You guys don't need any of that stuff.
You're traveling. It's horse and freaking buggy.
Yeah. Yep. You're all flying.
Hey, John Kerry, you don't have that plane anymore. Here's your ride. It may have an axle.
Hey, don't worry. We have a contract with Southwest. You all can fly Southwest in. you guys get 8th 1 through 15 seating. How about that?
If you get a plane, it's the plane from Major League that's got duct tape on the wings. That's it.
Yep.
When Wesley Snipes go, I don't think there's any stewardess. Yeah, that's your flight. You want to be a servant? There you go.
Yeah.
No, you go. That's why everyone go. That's why they don't care about the local, because the more money and the more prestige.
Because they don't even stay in their district. First of all, Congress was never supposed to be a year-round thing. It was supposed to be 2 sessions, one in the fall, one in the spring. Then you go back to your district and now talk to the people in the district.
Yes.
Now they're there 300 days out of the year. And how many days do you look on C-SPAN? There's 3 people in the House chamber. One guy's talking about some bill to make the turtles of West Virginia the national turtle, and people are like, you're just wasting money on time and all these other kinds of things. It's ridiculous.
Your boy Matt Gaetz didn't get in because he didn't kowtow to the IPAC as much as he did, and he got rung underneath, thrown down, ran over, the car backed up over him, and John Kerry put him on top of his plane and dropped him off, I think.
Yeah, the crazy thing is
what he did was good. Not saying what he did was good, but
the fact is that he was investigated for certain things and he was cleared multiple times. They're like, there's nothing here. But yet 2 days before Christmas, they dropped these allegations. We won't get into them because it's a family show. But if you were to read any of the allegations, you would go, and how many other people in DC are doing this? Because most of them are. and so why are they choosing to highlight this one guy? Well, maybe because, as Steve said, he's not towing the line that they want. So it is really just,
he hasn't paid for as much yet. He's in the team, but they don't have his blood, I guess, the blood oath.
Yeah, true.
You can't be owned if you're not taking the paycheck.
Yes. It really is the whole kit and caboodle, as you would say there. Oh yeah, you like my Ruger 44? Thank you. I wish it was real, but it is not. But hey, represent the wheel guns for y'all out there.
Somebody send him one for Epiphany.
You're okay. If you want to, Steve, I would be more than happy to accept. I need a good wheel gun. Need a good revolver. But
here's Massey on what Rick was talking about.
Paid over $17 million in hush money for sexual misconduct inside of the offices in these buildings. And what's more is that was taxpayer money, right? The allegation is that President Trump paid $130,000 of his own money. But here in Congress, there may be some on this dais. I mean, I'm for turning loose all of these records. Who in here has had the taxpayer pay for their sexual misconduct charges the hush money? I bet there's some over there. There may be some over here. I don't know, but I do know it's taxpayer money, and I do know not a single penny of it has been turned in as a campaign finance expense. Is the FEC going to investigate the $17 million that Congress has paid to settle behind closed doors, these sexual misconduct allegations?
Congressman, if a complaint were to come to us about it, I'm sure it would be thoroughly.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sure it would be.
Believe me, we're the government. We're here to help.
Yeah. We would absolutely release it 9 years later when nobody's paying attention on New Year's Day. So, and then nobody would understand that. So it's ridiculous how all of this stuff happens and nobody cares, Steve, because Trump won.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares what's happening because the election's over. You know, they were caring for 2 years. Oh, we got to get Trump back in there. Got to get Trump back in there. Now he's there. He's not even there yet, but because we all know Joey B is still president. That's why he's commuting the sentences of all these death row inmates, which there were some Catholic priests on X who were very happy. Oh, this is such a great thing that he's commuting the sentences of these murderers. And I'm like, well, the church has endorsed, not endorsed, but is permissible the death penalty. And this priest was like, there's been an update because Pope Francis updated the catechism. And I casually responded to him. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's not going to last. Like a lot of things. I'm pretty sure it's going to go back to the teachings of Pope Pius X, but the idea is like, if you look through the people, and Joey B is not even pardoning these people. There's an official office of pardons within the executive branch. Bet you all didn't know that. And this lady's just writing names out. And I watched the Lord of the Rings trilogy this week, guys. Okay. That's one thing I do. It's like Theoden when he's under the control of Wormtongue. He's just signing. It's just like Joe Biden, and it doesn't even, you can't even read the whole thing. That's where the parts are just getting blasted out of. So, and you're right. Hey man, did you know that Mark's right? Did you know that the college football playoffs were last week? There's more important things. We got to watch the college foosball in the NFL was the nobody's watching the NBA, but I mean we all got to watch the football. So
I didn't know there was a game on Christmas Day. I knew NBA was playing because they usually do, but.
Yeah, the Netflix broadcast with
because everyone was tweeting about Beyonce. I'm going, why is everybody talking about Beyonce? What went on? And apparently, you guys had a game that day.
Yeah, I wasn't paying. I don't have Netflix and I don't watch the NFL. So my wife and I were busy watching. What movie we were watching Home Alone at that point. So yeah, we were watching the classics in that regard. But. You know, if speaking of the church and speaking of the things, other things, couple things. Well, first, Pope Francis has started opening the portals, which every idiot online is now saying are portals to different dimensions. One lady was like, how do you open a portal and have people on the other side? Because it's not a portal. It's a door. You don't understand. It's a door. But these, you know, you got all these conspiracy theories that Francis is opening up doorways to different dimensions and all that stuff. No, the Jubilee year started. The holy doors are open, and if you go to Rome, which you know you want to, buckle up. 700,000 extra people a day there this next year, so plan accordingly. But you have those, and of course, people are losing their mind because Pope Francis made one of the doors in a prison, and so of course everybody's gonna have to, even though our Lord says you have to visit the imprisoned, but whatever. And then secondly, Pope Francis made some news because kind of question the narrative that's going on with our greatest ally.
Pope Francis' Christmas message to the courier did not go down well in Israel.
Ieri il patriarca non lo hanno lasciato entrare a Gaza come avevano permesso. E ieri sono stati bombardati bambini. Questo è crudeltà, questo non è guerra. Voglio dirlo perché tocca al cuore.
Israel's harsh response to the Pope came from the Foreign Ministry. In their statement published on social media, it reads, "Cruelty is terrorists hiding behind children while trying to murder Israeli children." They also say that cruelty is holding 100 hostages for 442 days, including a baby and children, by terrorists and abusing them. It ends with this sentence. Unfortunately, the Pope has chosen to ignore all of this. Yet during the Angelus, the next day, the Pope insisted on rejecting what is happening in Gaza.
E con dolore penso a Gaza, a tanta crudeltà, ai bambini mitragliati, ai bombardamenti di scuole e ospedali. Quanta crudeltà.
That same Sunday, the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem was able to visit the Catholic parish in Gaza and administer the sacraments such as confirmation.
You know what? Y'all take note. And Steve has said this before when the Holy Father has mentioned things that are things that we would like to see. Nobody gives Pope Francis credit for it, so we'll give him credit for it here on News with the Pew. Good call on that, especially since the Israelis are not big fans of that, and good for him. Good for him to call that out. So
he's been doing it. He's been doing it consistently for quite some time on calling out, and you never see those Catholic journalists bringing this up. No.
I don't see any thumbnails. I don't see any YouTube thumbnails about that.
It's not because they don't like the Holy Father. It's because they love Israel way more.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? The money's got to come from somewhere, buddy.
Yeah,
so,
you're not going to see the Daily Wire run with that one. They might condemn that one.
You mean Timcast, the new Timcast Daily Wire that's going to come out on January 1st?
Yeah.
It's interesting because, those, Posibic, all those guys won't say anything about this because they're afraid of the pushback and the blowback that they'd get from it.
How was Brown Nose Com last weekend? How was the Brown Nose Com last weekend? The convention of
AimFest?
Yes.
Apparently, two guys got into a fight in the parking lot over same-sex marriage. One guy, Bryson Gray, some of you may know that he's a hip hop artist. He thinks same-sex is an abomination. Got to give him credit. There's nothing wrong with that statement. One guy, because now conservatism is sodomy and same-sex marriages, who has a buddy that's like that, sucker punched him, and so they agreed to go into the parking lot and fight it out. And it was pretty pathetic, because movie fights and real fights are not the same thing. I think most people have never actually seen a real fight. It's a lot of grabbing and a lot of like for 5 minutes until one guy gets tired.
Hold me back. Pull somebody behind him. Pull me back.
Yeah. A lot of pushing, a lot of fake punches. So there was that. Laura Loomer decided to get into a fight with Milo Yiannopoulos at one of the parties, which was on X, not the substance, not the platform. And then Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks was given a standing ovation because he was brought in, because it's all about, populism, left and right populism, and how they share common values, even though Cenk wanted us all dead during the cough, cough, jab, jab, because we wouldn't take the experimental clot. So, overall very successful. Yeah, pretty much up to standard. So that's all there was with that. There's not much else. It's just super cringe fest as far as that regard with anything in conservatism. It's just it's trying so hard to be something it's not supposed to be. Conservatism is not supposed to be cool or hip or the Macarena or any of that other kind of stuff. It's supposed to be the conservation of tradition, and the fact that they don't believe that is why all of this stuff is just nonsensical.
Well, because you mentioned the coughing stuff, bird flu.
Oh, that's right. It mutated in a person in Louisiana, they said. Yeah. That's it, folks. It's coming. It's going to be here January 21st.
Yeah, mutated inside U.S. patient.
Of course. I mean, let's give them credit. It is the most believable that if bird flu did mutate, it would mutate inside somebody from New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just give them credit. At least they're a little bit more on track with the message this time instead of a bat. Like, we can all blame the people from New Orleans next time. Right? It's their fault. The New Orleans people, you jerks. So you have that happening. You have more people just really getting into it back and forth, and I don't know. It's people are bored right now. they're really bored with this week, and because they don't know how to spend time with their families or actually enjoy the actual Christmas season, they're looking for stuff to fill time. They're looking for stuff to fill time, and you can see that it's not really going well for a lot of them. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what to say.
Buckle up, Buttercup.
That's really it. What's going on at andywar.com?
Oh, it's just a nothing major. Is U.S. funding group removes Gaza famine reports. Israeli airstrikes hit Yemen, killing at least 4. U.S. launches airstrikes against Somalia, 2 killed. Brandon orders surge of weapons in Ukraine. Nothing big. Nothing big.
It's the same old, same old.
Another Tuesday.
Nothing. Another way to have this taken. I guess everybody's just kind of waiting now for Trump to pretty much get into office. That's all. We're in this weird holding pattern. Next big date is the Epiphany, where they see if the counting of the votes to make it official, and then the 20th when he officially comes back. So, the good times will start up once the good times will roll, and the clouds will part, and DJT will descend from the heavens, and everybody will be happy.
It's just a pregame. Oh, it was Laura Loomer who said about his Doge Real is just a vanity project.
She's really annoying, but she does put the hammer on the nail head more often than not. Which is the only reason why she's even still around. So it is what it is in that regard.
Who you got for your you want to do Saint of the Year?
Ooh, you're gonna throw Saint of the Year at me?
Well, it's the end of the year.
I don't even remember most of the year. I don't remember. Let's see here. If I want to put Saint of the Year,
Big one. I know.
That's you threw that at me pretty quick, didn't you?
I know you're weak. We'll forget about the year. Do Cry Room of the Year.
Cry Room of the Year. I guess I'm going to put Elon in there for this epic meltdown towards the end, right? I mean, that's pretty. It's a huge reverberation on all that. I guess I would have to say for Saint of the Week. Dang, you got me on this one. Let me say I gotta check something real quick. Even what I've talked about. Folks, even I'm getting lost on this one. Let's see here. Who would it be? Actually, I'll put my no, I think I'll stick with that. Let's see. I could have, if Caitlin Clark didn't go super lib in the last 2 weeks, she probably would have been my Saint of the Year. But the fact that she went so left so quick really didn't help in that regard. So let's see, who could I put for Saint of the Week? I don't have one. I don't have one. There's nobody. Nobody's worth it this week.
I'll give not a person, but I guess multiple states. I'll put them in the Saint of the Week. And
yeah, that's excellent.
Will soon be shut off in 13 different U.S. states: Florida, Arkansas, Idaho, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Montana, Mississippi, Nebraska, North Carolina, Texas, and Virginia. So a lot of people are upset about mostly southern states. A lot of people like the KK said another reason the South. Oh, that was one of them. Another reason the South stinks is that so. Federalism works if you just try it. Cry Room, I'll go with this is a kind of a tie. Montana Supreme Court is kind of nutty, which you got to focus on your state Supreme Courts, along with Governor Kathy Hochul of New York, which New York used to be a cool place. I didn't know it was. Didn't know there was, there was a lecture on New York being a Confederate state in a sense because they hated everything that the administration was doing and they wouldn't send anybody down. really cool events that they were doing. And the whole idea that, what was that movie with the butcher? Leo DiCaprio was in it long ago.
Oh, you're talking about Gangs in New York.
Gangs in New York.
Yeah.
The guy that wrote Washington's KKK did a lecture on the conservatism in New York, the state, during that time. It's mind blowing. You would not know what went down. Only about 100 people listened to this video from him from 14 years ago, back when YouTube would only let you do 15 minutes, so it's broken up in 3 parts. So I'll go with those guys. My crowd room.
My saint of the year is Luce.
I knew.
My saint of the year is Luce. Forever, at least for the rest of the couple days, for the next 4 days. But yeah, folks, that's gonna be it for news from the pew. In 2024, we're gonna see you next week. That's gonna be, of course, my thing's sideways now. Let's see here. Of course. Yeah, just a banner day. So let's see. My phone's not working. It doesn't work right now. But
Second or third.
we're gonna see you on the 2nd, either 2nd or the 3rd next week. It'll be the 3rd next week.
Yeah.
So we will see you after the beginning of the new year. I hope you have a safe, happy new year. You get to mass because it's a holy day of obligation on the 1st, even though most people won't tell you. But yes, we will talk to you all now next week. Hope you enjoy the rest of the 12 days of Christmas. God bless.